The Jamaican Maroons were a group of Africans and natives who successfully resisted the Spanish and British slave system in Jamaica for over 280 years. Throughout these years, there were many great warriors that led the Maroons to victory and freed many enslaved peoples. Prince Njoni of the Maroons would emerge as one of these great leaders. He participated in the greatest slave rebellion in Jamaican history. He fought in some of the most iconic battles during the Maroon War. And his blood is present in the calabash of the peace treaty. But while his name appears in colonial records, there isn't much information recorded on him, even in oral traditions. But as a great Maroon warrior, he deserves to be honored. In this video, I will present what is known about him and piece together what I can to paint a picture of the life of Njoni of the Maroons. So look up my like button, subscribe, comment, share the video, and let's get into it. Njoni of the Maroons is one of the 7 brothers of Queen Nanny. He is the 3rd born son of Prince Nakwan after Kojo and Akompong. This is also confirmed whenever his name appears in colonial documents. He is always listed after Kojo and Akompong, but before Kofi, Kwako, and Kwao. This means he was born somewhere between 1660 and 1680 in the great Negro town in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. Very little is written on him. Even in oral history, he is not spoken about much. If there were stories about him, they didn't survive as well as the others. One thing we do know about him is that he is the only Maroon leader with an English name. Njoni. Njoni comes from the English John, which is a variant of the Hebrew Yochanan, like John the Baptist. Maybe he got his name because he was straight baptizing fools during the Maroon Wars. At first, his name might seem rather peculiar because he was raised in an Akan tradition, like his brothers and sisters who all have Akan names. And presumably, he did not speak English, at least not initially. Yet there is no recollection in Maroon history of another name which Njoni the Maroon was known by. However, I suspect that his name is actually Jan or Jan. In Jamaica, we celebrate a festival called Jan Canoe or John Canoe, named after the famous Akan warrior named John Kwa, who fought against the slave system and won. Which again, I believe the original spelling is Gyan. Upon research, Jan is actually a common surname in Ghana among the Fanti people, which makes sense considering Prince Nakwan is a Fanti and Coromantee is a Fanti district. So his name is actually Jan, and Njoni is a pet name, as we say in Jamaica. The surname is most common with the Fanti tribe of Ghana. Some locals associate it with persons who can mobilize crowds for an exercise. For example, an army leader. Perhaps this was his role among the Maroons, but we'll explore this later. The Asafo House in Maroon tradition is where Maroons train for battle. Asafo is an Akan terminology made up of 2 words Sa, meaning war, and Fo, meaning people. Safo. Maroons are said to perform a ritual choreography in water before battle, and these rituals made them pretty much invincible to bullets and swords. Perhaps this is the capacity in which Njoni served in based on his name. Raids. In 1690, between 600 and 400 slaves belonging to the Sutton Plantation in Clarendon, Jamaica, killed the white men entrusted with the care of it and seized upon a large storehouse of firearms, after which burning down the estate and proceeding to the next plantation, murdering the overseers and burning that down as well. This rebellion was said to be orchestrated by his father, Naquan, and led by his brother, Cudjoe. It is not clear what their roles were, but it is likely that Njoni, as well as a Kumpong, would have been a part of this rebellion, as they were Cudjoe's right and left hand. Before Prince Naquan passed away, he left charge of the Maroons to his sons, Cudjoe, a Kumpong, and Njoni. At this time, they were primarily located in the Great Negro Town and Cave River in central Jamaica. As the British began to expand on the island, it prompted Cudjoe to move west and consolidate all the Maroon clans under one unified banner to better fight the British. On the journey west, Cudjoe took a Kumpong and Njoni with him as his generals, and Kofi and Kwaku as captains under them. Queen Nanny would stay behind with Kwao and Kwashi. Cudjoe would strategically set up settlements in the west and put his brothers in charge of them while he traveled across the island. A Kumpong Town and Cudjoe Town are two such settlements that are still here today. While history books and maps recount the existence of a Fori Town and a Cham Kofi Town or John Kofi Town, I haven't found any records of a Njoni Town. However, considering his status as a Maroon leader, he would most certainly have been a town master. Likely there was a Njoni Town, now lost to history, or perhaps he was stationed in one of the other territories, not named after a Maroon, such as Quickstep, Troy, or even Coxheath. Based on proximity, I would think Quickstep would be the most likely candidate, but it is also possible that he is stationed at Cudjoe Town while Cudjoe was on the move, or he did indeed share a town with Kofi, known as John Kofi Town. While the West was for the most part quiet, then in the East, in regards to Maroon activity, there were some raids and assault carried out by Maroons in the West, although it is not clear to what extent Njoni would have been a part of these. But based on proximity, he would have likely participated in the Ripon Plantation raid in April 1728, freeing the slaves of the Ralph Ripon Plantation in St. Elizabeth, as well as the Archdirk and Pesto plantations later that year in October in central Jamaica, where 26 people, men, women, and children, were freed. There are countless other raids that we could speculate of in that area, but we'll save that for another video. Njoni was an essential part in winning the wars in the West, but he was also instrumental in the East. The discovery of Nanny Town, or as the British called it, the Great Negro Town, led it to be the site of most of the major battles that took place in Maroon history. Until the discovery of the Maroon towns in the West, much of the British efforts were concentrated on Nanny Town. Thus, Njoni would fight alongside his family to defend his hometown in some of the most historic battles. Battles such as the Battle of the Plains in 1727, the invasion of Captain Soper in 1730, the special regiments from England in 1733, the infamous seamen of Sir Captain Ogle in 1734, Captain Shuttleforth in 1734 as well, and the massive troops from Gibraltar in 1735. In this battle, the British would send for 600 troops from Gibraltar, with over 200 troops from Jamaica to join them, and they managed to successfully occupy Nanny'S, scattering the Maroons once again. 1/3 of the Maroon clans would leave with Accompong, and the rest would leave for John Coffeytown. Njoni also left at this time, although we're not certain if he was a guide in one of the other groups or if he took his own group with him. Then there was the infamous Battle of Mock Village. In 1738, the British had sent for 200 Mosquito Indian trackers to help them discover the location of the Maroons in the west. So Njoni and his brother created a mock village and lured the British and their guides into thinking they found the village. Colonel Guthrie, thinking he had seized the town, would write in his book how he was master of the town. Ultimately, when the Mosquito Indians led the British into the village, they led them into a trap, as they would soon be met with a rain of jungas, blacking out the sky, forcing a retreat for all those who remained alive. And lastly, there was the Battle of Peace Cave in 1738. This battle took place in Old Town, Accompong. Under the pretense of wanting peace, the British agreed to meet Cudjoe, Accompong, and Njoni, and the other Maroon leaders inside Peace Cave. However, the British then tried to ambush them with 300 men. Much to their surprise, it was the Maroons who ambushed them, and not one of the 300 men were left alive. It was said that Njoni, Accompong, and Cudjoe, with no more than 7 or 27 other men, were able to accomplish killing all 300 men. It was this battle that led to the actual treaty. Treaty. And it is on this treaty that Njoni of the Maroons is recorded as the 3rd colonel or chief of the Maroons after Accompong. Maroons say Cudjoe never signed the document, but instead, the British representatives met the Maroons and performed the blood ritual that bound them to peace. Njoni's blood was a part of this ritual and a part of this treaty. Post-treaty. The last detail we have about Njoni on record is a document from the British which they gifted cows and raw material as well as clothing to the Maroon leaders as a sign of peace. Njoni is listed as receiving only 1 cow while his brothers got 2. No doubt the limey bastards were trying to start a beef. Another detail that survived about him is that his descendants are also of the Rowe family. Like Nanny, Cudjoe, and Accompong, his descendants are said to have taken the last name Rowe. Lieutenant Rowe of Accompong is said to be a descendant of Njoni of the Maroons. We don't know much about Njoni of the Maroons, but we know that he gave his blood to secure a Maroon victory and peace for his people. We know that his contribution earned him the role as the 3rd chief or colonel of the Maroons. And we know he was an essential part of the First Maroon War. So if you know anything about Prince Njoni of the Maroons, please share it in the comments. Despite the limited information on him, I wanted to make this video to acknowledge his contribution and honor his memory. Special thanks to my sources. In research for this topic, I resorted to my Maroon family oral history, colonial records, as well as the following books: The Maroon Story by former Chief Bev Carey, and Cudjoe of the Maroons by Accompong Maroon Milton McFarlane, both of whom Maroon authors. I also use True-Born Maroons by Smithsonian archaeologist Kenneth Bilby, which features many stories and quotes by elder Maroons over a period of 20 years. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like more content like this, or you just want to support, you can click that super thanks button and donate whatever you feel like donating. Thank you so much. Much more to come. Stay tuned. God bless.